So what I'd like to talk to you about today is priorities. A lot of us have the sense that we're at a great moment of crisis in society, and that we have societal issues, people who are being tossed aside, who are being told that they aren't worth anything. We have an environment that's being totally uncared for and having all of its resources extracted and put through this machine we call the economy and then disposed of as toxic waste. And we have this whole financial sector that is so detached from physical reality that it seems totally hopeless that we could bring those values back into alignment with those of the regular people. How many of you remember when you were a child and you were asked, what do you want to be when you grew up? Huh? Show of hands, you remember that question? Right? What did you say? You said you wanted to be a doctor, an astronaut, a lawyer maybe if your parents were lawyers, a ballerina, an artist. Why did you answer the question that way? Because when you were young, you didn't have to look through the lens of money. You didn't look through that lens of scarcity. And you saw yourself becoming what would most contribute your gifts back to the community. But then as you got older, what you wanted to grow up and be changed, didn't it? That money part kind of came into play. You had to realize you had to make ends meet. Artists didn't really seem so viable anymore. You had to pay the bills. I don't think that's right. I think that having to sacrifice what we genuinely want to give of ourselves kind of cheats us all out of enjoying the most that we all have to offer. My core points are these. That money is energy. That there are different kinds of this monetary energy. And that if we're going to reprioritize people and the planet over the financial world, we're going to have to become very consciously selective of how we use this technology that we call money. So what is money? Just kind of define our terms. If you go to the economics department or ask a traditional economist, they'll probably tell you it's a medium of exchange, store of value, unit of account. But that's not really what money is it? That's what money does. What money is something greater. It's a social technology that we invent independently of one another around the world, as students of history and economic history have acknowledged time and again. So a more broad definition is offered here by Bernard Lietaer, is that money is an agreement within a community, between people, to use something, anything. Money has been many, many things, from coins to shells to gold to the zeros and ones in the banks that we use today, pieces of paper and so on. To use something as a medium of exchange. Use that as a lubricant for the way that I bring my gifts and the way that you bring your gifts, as opposed to operating in a traditional barter society where I go and I create something and I bring it to you and you have your thing and we have to want one another's things at the same time in the same place. It's very inconvenient. So money is invented, whether it's salt or whatever, as something that we can exchange in as an intermediary. Helps make things easier. It's the water to our fish. We're born in it, we die in it, we breathe it in, we spend it out so easily. But rarely do we stop and really ask, what is this stuff that I live in that determines so many of my choices in this life, that keeps me from so many of the things that I desire? I think that's a very important question. Another analogy is the circulatory system. Like the blood cells in our veins right now, money helps carry valuable goods and services from where they are to where they need to go in society. And you can see this is a quote from the Money and Life film, actually a meme campaign that we ran for the film's final Kickstarter. Let's think about the word currency. How many people have noticed that it's kind of like current C? You're just looking at a current, a flow state, right? That's all we're talking about here. So I'm not trying to get too meta. I'm not trying to get too heady on you. That's the main point, is that we're talking about flow. We're talking about something that moves from a place of relative abundance to a place of relative scarcity and serves certain interests in the process. That's all money is. Now, when I moved to Fairfield, Iowa, and started working on the Hero Rewards program, I just wanted to know, how to create a currency system. How could we create one of these flow systems in a way that would bring self-determinative powers, bring the power of a community to decide what it wanted for itself back to the local levels? And I also wanted to know how I could help the local businesses. Local businesses love getting business, and they're having a hard time in today's globalized economy. And I was given a construct while I was there studying for my master's that led me to look at money through this time lens and these functions as it serves. And so the breakdown is like this, right? I take my labor, which I have, my time and my talent, and I go and intermix that with the natural environment. And I create a product, whether that's a crude hand axe or a new bow and arrow or a fancy mobile payments app. I bring that to my community, the market, and I offer it for this stuff, this money stuff, so that I can go get the things that I want. That's money acting as a medium of exchange. We went through that earlier. But let's say I don't have anything I want to go and spend that money on right now. I can take it and I can put it in my bank account, and I can leave it there for however long, and then I know that I can come back to it, and then I can spend it when it's useful. That's it, playing the store of value role. And the unit of account just helps me denominate how much money I have in each account, whether it's my checking account or my savings account. Simple, right? But I found this gap. What does money do for future human behavior? I found that this is a really, really, really important question, because so much of the crisis that we're looking at today in terms of the biosphere, in terms of our society, has to do with changing our behaviors moving forward. We're realizing that, especially here in America, we grew up in a bit of a self-serving bubble. Everything, this narrative that we grew up in, told us everything is okay. Everything in the world will be figured out at some point or another. The scientists will take care of it. The politicians will agree. Just buy more stuff. That's wrong. We're coming to realize that. We're coming to realize that we grew up on a very extractive foundation, and that foundation is crumbling beneath our feet. And unless we get our act together, we're going to be dealing with some serious, serious problems. So here's what I want to offer to you for consideration. That money itself acts as a vote for a future yet to be. The way that we shop, the way that we invest, and the kinds of things that we incentivize and reward out there actively co-create the future that we are electing into being. So do I go and I shop on Main Street? Do I go shop at the Commons, or do I default to Walmart and Amazon every time? Do I take my investment capital and put it into fields of solar panels and wind energy, or am I investing it into coal and genetically modified organisms? You can see how we produce very different outcomes based on those choices. Just keep this in mind. There are different types of money. Something that we studied a little bit while we were out in Iowa. Looking at time-based systems such as time banking. There's actually a local time bank now here in Ithaca. If you haven't signed up yet, you definitely should. There are local regional currencies such as Ithaca's own Ithaca Hours, one of the reasons I came here in the first place. There are business-to-business systems. We call this the barter industry. It's actually pretty well developed. It's decently regulated. You kind of know what to expect when you're dealing with a barter organization. But now we're also kind of expanding this idea of currency to include things like loyalty. How many people use frequent flyer miles? It's a lot of hands. Did you know that you're using a complementary currency? It's actually true. Those are units that you're earning into existence by flying from point A to point B, and then they're redeemable for goods that even go beyond empty seats on airplanes. You can get the cheaper hotel, you can get the cheaper rental car, you can buy the luggage. It's a currency. Reputation currencies like eBay and Amazon stars are starting to become more prevalent. This whole creating a trust economy. And then you've got the new cryptocurrencies out there, which are, the new kids on the block think they're all that. Libertarians are just like over the moon about them. Personally, I don't really think that they're our saviors of choice, but they're very interesting, and there's a lot to be learned by looking into that space. So we see the Ithaca Hour. We also see the Bristol pound, one of the more successful regional currency models, what are being called transition currencies, currencies that are embodying the values of the transition movement originating in the UK, which is all about moving us away from fossil fuels and toward renewable energy, and fostering greater local resilience, especially around food. The next one down is actually the Virgil out of Austria. This is an interesting currency model because it was run after World War II when Austria was looking at some harsh economic conditions. What's interesting about this, you'll see the 10G there on the right side. That's a little stamp that you had to go and pay to get in order to keep the currency in circulation. It acts kind of as a negative interest rate. The money in our minds kind of loses value over time. As you get closer to the date when you have to do that, you want to spend it. You want to move it. It acts as an incredible circulation incentive. They ran some studies and found that the Virgil would circulate 12 to 14 times as many in as many exchanges as the national currency over the same period of time. 12 to 14 times as much economic benefit per monetary unit. That's something pretty incredible. And then we see the Curitiba bus tokens here. This is a fascinating example, but I'm going to skip it for now. There are many of these systems already active in the world. We've got some people saying 5,000, some people saying 10,000. There's really no way of knowing because many of these are so local that they're off the grid. What do I mean when I say conscious selectivity? First, we need to understand that use of a currency, in a way, is a tacit approval of that currency system. True story. I bought 1/10 of a Bitcoin the other day. And I put it on Facebook. I said, I finally own some Bitcoin. And this woman came on there and she said, Scott, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you knew better than that. Why would you do that? How do you feel about using a currency that supports drug trafficking and weapons and all these things we don't want in the world? I can't believe you. And I understood where she was coming from. You know, a lot of people heard about the Silk Road and all the illicit things that were going on there. Hey, you know, the feds went and shut it down. You do bad things, people come for you. It's just kind of one of those things. So I felt for her. But I had to turn it around. I said, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Why don't you think about the same question that you're asking me the next time you go buy something with dollars? How many drugs do you think have been trafficked? How many weapons do you think have been sold? How many humans do you think have been sold into slavery, all through dollars? Something to think about. When we create these secondary and tertiary models, we actually have the opportunity to do what's called screening in the investment community. When you're an investor, you can do what's called negative screening, where you say, hey, advisor, I don't want to invest my money in coal. I don't want to invest my money in GMOs. I don't want to invest my money in these things that I don't want more of in the world. And then on the other side of the coin, you can say, these are the things I do want. I do want more renewable energy. I do want more local food security. Currency systems can be used to encourage those same kind of behaviors, and use of those systems signals to the marketplace that you also support those values. The difference is in that awareness, the awareness and in the intentionality. And I think that without these two things, we're totally doomed. Unless we can become more conscious of who we are as economic actors, as economic voters, and become very intentional about the realities that we vote for through the use of our money, then we're going to be in a tough spot. So putting people and planet before paper wealth. All this money stuff, we made it up. It's a figment of our imagination. Does your bank account determine your real worth as a person? Does it define who you are and what the potential of your gifts are to the world? I don't think so. So putting people and planet before paper wealth, to me, looks like more of us coming together to recreate that original agreement of we can use this as money, whether that's a time system or a local or regional currency, or even like our merits out of Iowa. We would give these to volunteers who went and moved forward things around sustainability. The city had a Go Green strategic plan. You'd go and attend an educational film screening or plant the community garden, or help with a zero waste event. And then you'd earn merits. Then you could take these to the cafe and get a buy one, get one free cup of coffee, large pizza for the price of a small extra movie ticket. Participating in those kinds of systems helps reprioritize what's possible. If you like some great resources on this stuff, I'd totally love to help you out and continue the conversation. I'm going to jot down this link. It is case sensitive. It'll take you to a Prezi that has these slides and more. This economics book is fantastic. It's actually a graphic novel. You can read it in like 2 or 3 sittings. It's fantastic. And then Rethinking Money, Bernard Lietaer helped write that one. And then we have Charles Eisenstein's latest book, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. Charles has really given some powerful voice to a lot of the people in this community. He just has an elegant, powerful way with the word. And then also there's the film, Money and Life. You can see it at moneyandlifemovie.com. May even be able to find it on YouTube, who knows. Thank you very much.